Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're back with part 11 of reacting to your football hot takes. Like always, a couple days back on my community tab, I asked you guys for your hottest takes in regards to the beautiful game. And like always, man, you guys did not let me down. So many great hot takes in this batch. So we're not going to drag this intro on any further. We're going to get to it right now and let's start reacting to some of your hottest takes. The first take we have here is Harry Kane scoring 30 goals in the Tottenham team is more impressive than Haaland scoring 36 in the Man City team. That to me is not a hot take. It's 100% factual. Now, first of all, let me say this. Scoring 30 or 30 plus goals in the Prem, actually, fuck that. Scoring 30 or 30 plus goals in any league when you're a pro footballer is extremely hard to do, and that's why most guys can't do it. But when comparing the context of these two seasons, to me, obviously, Harry Kane's more impressive because it comes down to the teammates that you have, man. I mean, Harry Kane had good teammates, but nowhere near the level of teammates that Erling Haaland had. He had, obviously, last season when he scored 36 goals. Harry Kane had guys like Richarlison and Danjuma and obviously Kulusevski and Heung-min Son and Højbjerg and, Oliver Skip. Those are good players, obviously Premier League level players. But Erling Haaland played on one of the greatest teams that football has ever seen. I mean, Erling Haaland's not scoring 36 goals with those teammates, like with that midfield, with those wingers next to him. Erling Haaland, he's the reason, like, in large part why he scored over 30 goals is because he had the likes of Kevin De Bruyne and Okay Gundogan and Phil Foden and Jack Grealish, and their whole job was to feed this guy balls into the box. Give Haaland the ball and he will score. It would have been insane for me if Haaland, like a guy of Haaland's like talent and like as good as he is and as dominant as he is, with those teammates, it would have been crazy if he didn't score over 30 goals. Now, again, I'm not trying to take away from his achievement because it's one of the best seasons that I've ever seen from a striker, especially in the Prem. But again, when you're looking at Harry Kane and the teammates that he had, I mean, he basically had to drag that Spurs team for times last year. And Erling Haaland, no matter how good you think he is, he's never dragging Man City. Man City are too good of a team for anybody to drag them. And that's why, to me, kind of veering off from this, but also it came to my mind. That's why, to me, whenever I get asked about the greatest Premier League season ever, in my opinion, I talk about Luis Suarez in 13-14 because what Luis Suarez did, scoring over 30 goals while missing 5 games and not taking penalties with teammates that he had, which were worse than what Harry Kane had and obviously than what Erling Haaland had at Liverpool. That's why to me it's so impressive because obviously Kane and Haaland both were the penalty takers for their team, and Luis Suarez was not. Obviously, it was Steven Gerrard. So when I look at Suarez and the way that he scored over 30 goals, 33 goals to be exact in the Prem, with the teammates that he had, that's why to me it makes it so much more impressive compared to some of the other great goal scoring seasons that we've seen in the Prem. Because again, it comes down to the context and the teammates that you have, and like I think Harry Kane scoring 30 goals for that Tottenham team, obviously it's very impressive. Erling Haaland scoring 36. I mean, scoring 36 goals for any team, no matter like City, Liverpool, doesn't matter what team you play for. When you score 36 goals in the Prem in your first season, obviously it's extremely impressive. But to me, I 100% agree with this. I think Harry Kane scoring 30 goals is more impressive than Haaland scoring 36 because again, like I said, for like the 15th time now, it comes down to the context behind it. The next take we have here is Pedri and Gavi will be top 10 midfielders of all time in less than 10 years. No. And I love Pedri and Gavi. They're two of my favorite players in the world. Obviously, I hope to see them at Barca for their whole career. But top 10 midfielders of all time, it's just putting this, you're disrespecting the guys that came before them, man. And to me, when I look at Pedri and Gavi, I think they have the talent like to one day maybe be in that conversation. But in 10 years, man, that's too short of time. You got to give them at least 15 years. And then we'll see if they're even in that conversation. The midfielder, like football, the history of midfielders of this game is insane, bro. Obviously, you got to look at Xavi, you got to look at Iniesta, you got to look at Pirlo, at Modric, at Cruz, at so many of these greats that came before Pedri and Gavi. And to me, those guys accomplished so much and were so great for so long. It would be hard for me to say that Pedri and Gavi will be top 10 when their career is all said and done. Pedri, obviously, there's the whole thing with him that he's always injured and he's barely ever fit. So I hope that Pedri can have a long career and obviously not have it derailed due to injuries. But Pedri, that's just like it's something that we have to bring up when we talk about Pedri. You can't talk about Pedri without talking about the injuries. And Gavi just suffered an ACL injury, and I'm sure he's going to recover and he's going to be fine. But still, man, when you're looking at the greatest midfielders this game has ever seen, obviously I forgot Zidane in that whole conversation. There's so many great ones that I'm missing. Lampard, Gerrard, Scholes, all these guys. That Pedri and Gavi are obviously not even close to them right now. Now, in 10 years, we'll see, man. A lot can happen in 10 years. But for me to sit here and tell you that Pedri and Gavi are going to be top 10 in 10 years when it comes to the midfielders, like midfield position in football, I'd be just being extremely biased, and I don't want to do that. So for me, I'm going to have to heavily disagree with this take. I don't see this happening. The next take we have here is if Neymar stayed at Barca, we would have at least won another UCL. You know, bro, part of me wants to agree with this. But part of me, by the way, I just noticed your username. That's fucking insane. That is a crazy username. I gotta call my lawyer after that. I don't know what that is. But anyway, part of me wants to agree with, part of me also disagrees because look, Obviously, if Neymar were to stay at Barca, it would have been a lot easier for Barca to maybe make it further into the UCL. And a lot of those collapses that we saw post-Neymar, I don't think would have happened. I think if Neymar would have stayed in 2018, 2019, with that version of Messi, even with Suarez being a little bit washed, I think Barca win that UCL. I do think that Barca win that UCL because, again, we just had nobody besides Messi on that team that could actually help carry the load. Everybody else was basically, they were non-existent on that team, especially when it came to that night at Anfield, where Messi didn't really have it, and you're looking for somebody else to just don't concede 4 goals or just someone score a fucking goal. And no one could do that, obviously. I think Neymar would have been able to do that, especially because Neymar was so good at that time. He was still at the peak of his powers. But when I look at Barca, since that night in Berlin in 2015, I look at our track record in the UCL, it's hard for me to say that one player would have changed anything. Because keep this in mind, when Neymar was still at Barca for those 2 years post that win in Berlin, we still lost in the UCL. And we still had, in my opinion, far and away the greatest attacking trio, the best attacking trio in football. I know BBC was obviously really good. In terms of quality, the way they played together, it wasn't close to me. That trio was mostly carried by Ronaldo. This is a cohesive trio. This unit played so well together. And you look at what happened against Atletico Madrid, a team that we had no business, in my opinion, losing to. Again, that Atletico Madrid team was really, really good. But Barca were coming off a treble, and to me, they were better that year. And you collapsed in both of those games. Neymar and Messi were non-existent through 2 legs. And the only one that really showed up was Suarez. And you look at the next year, I mean, you were this close to losing the PSG. You lost the first leg at the Parc des Princes 4-0 with Neymar. And then the second leg, because of Neymar in large part, because he was so great in that second leg at the Camp Nou, is why you won that game. But still, you needed a miracle. One of the greatest comebacks, if not the greatest comebacks in football history to win. And then you play Juventus, and you get spanked through 180 minutes. You didn't score. You had 2 clear-cut chances through 2 legs. And then obviously the next year Neymar leaves and we lose to Roma. Do I think Barca would have beaten Roma do I think Barca would have won the UCL that year if Neymar stayed? Guys, part of me, I don't think so, man. I don't think so. It's something with Barca post that game in Berlin that just completely shifted the mentality of that team in the UCL in that competition. But I do think that if it would have been 1 year, it would have been 2018, 2019 for sure. Because again, like I said, that version of Messi, that version of Neymar, I think it would have carried them. I mean, there was those two you could argue at that time were the 2 best in the world. I know Ronaldo was still really, really good, but you could argue those were the 2 best, or definitely in the top 3. But yeah, man, to me, I don't know. Again, if Neymar would have stayed, we don't spend money on Coutinho, we don't spend money on Dembele. But again, I would have trusted Bartomeu to make the right choices anyway and make that team any better. So for me, again, part of me wants to say yes, and I am going to say yes because I think we would have won 2018, 2019. But knowing Barca the way I know them, even if Neymar would have stayed, we probably wouldn't have won another UCL. The next take we have here is Argentina 2022 squad was the worst team to win the World Cup in the 21st century. 100%. That's not debatable in my opinion. Let's go through the teams. 0-2 Brazil. Regarded as one of the greatest national teams the game has ever seen. I mean, go look at that lineup. Go look at that team. Cafu, Roberto Carlos, Ronaldinho, Rivaldo, R9. I mean, that team was stacked from top to bottom. And like I said, it's regarded as one of the greatest national teams the game has ever seen. You go to 06 Italy. Ambrosini, Del Piero, fucking Nesta, Zambrotta. You look at Pirlo, you look at Totti, you look at Luca Toni. I mean, that team was obviously stacked. A great team. And at the time, the Serie A was arguably the best league in the world. And they had, obviously, all those great players from Serie A. So, obviously, that's not debatable. 2010 Spain, again, you could argue the greatest national team of all time with that great crop of Barcelona and Real Madrid players. And also, I mean, that team was insane. We know about Spain in 2010. We know about Spain in 08. We know about Spain in 2012. Probably the most dominant national team any of us have ever seen. Then you look at Germany in 2014 and Brazil. I mean, that team was fucking stacked. Obviously, beating Messi and Argentina in that final. Andre Schürrle, Miroslav Klose, Lucas Podolski, Toni Kroos, Mesut Ozil, Thomas Muller, Howard, obviously. You have David Alaba, you have Manuel Neuer. That team was obviously stacked. And you look at 2018 France, to me, obviously a really, really good team. I think it's closer to Argentina. People want to I think 2018 France is a really, really good team, but I think obviously it's better than Argentina's squad in 2022. But I think they're close, but still it's a better team on paper. You look at Griezmann, you look at Matuidi, you look at obviously Kylian Mbappe, you look at Olivier Giroud, you look at the defense was obviously great with Umtiti and Pavard and all those guys. A really, really good team, and they basically breezed through the whole tournament because they were so good. And obviously it brings us to Argentina, the reigning champions. And you look at that team, man, and I mean, no one picked that team to make any noise in that tournament. I mean, people obviously thought because Messi was there, they could make the final. But I think most people, when you told them that Argentina were going to win the World Cup, they were going to say, bro, you're fucking crazy. That team's going to win the World Cup with Otamendi and Tagliafico and Nahuel Molina and McAllister and Enzo Fernandez, who was still, obviously people knew he was good, but he was playing at Benfica. And you have Julian Alvarez, who, you know, came from River Plate and barely gets playing time at Man City, and you have an older Di Maria, like obviously, and you have Dibu Martinez in goal. I mean, like when you look at Germany had Casillas, right? Not Germany. Germany had Neuer. Spain had Casillas. Italy had Buffon. France had Hugo Lloris, so I think it's overrated, but still, he's one of the best of his generation. And you're looking at Argentina's goalkeeper, and it's Dibu Martinez, a guy who's known for obviously humping the air at the Copa America. I don't think this to me is a hot take at all. And I think that's what makes Messi's World Cup win so much more impressive. The fact that he was able to do it with those guys. And obviously if Messi would have won the 2014 World Cup, that would have been the worst squad to win the World Cup in a number of years. But that again is like, I'm going to glaze right now. It's the greatest of Lionel Messi, and just what he's able to do with like lesser talent. I think he's the greatest carrier, if you want to call it that, in the history of football. So to me, that's not a hot take. And you could argue Argentina's 2022 World Cup winning squad is in the top 5 worst squads to ever win the World Cup. Again, no disrespect to those guys, because when you win a World Cup, you have to have a good team. You don't win a World Cup with a bunch of bums. It just doesn't happen. But when you're like, but again, World Cup winning teams are usually stacked. That's why they won the World Cup. And when you compare it to those other all-time teams, because almost every team that's won a World Cup is an all-time team. That's why they won the World Cup. It's definitely, I think they're in the bottom 5 in my opinion, if you look at it historically. The next take we have here, and we actually just talked about those guys, but we're going to talk about them again. Manuel Neuer is by far clear of Buffon and Casillas. I think Neuer is the best keeper the game has ever seen. I can't talk to you guys about Yashin because I wasn't alive then. I'm sorry. Maybe someone and watching this video that's like over the age of 100 could talk to me about Yashin, but I can't. I'm only 22. I'm sorry, which to you guys is considered unk. But again, not old enough to watch Yashin. I can promise you that. But yeah, to me, look, I think these 3 are the best that I've seen in my lifetime. These 3 goalkeepers, and honestly, I would throw in Oblak, but he's not in this conversation. When you're looking at the Mount Rushmore, even though Mount Rushmore's 4'4" people, but imagine if Mount Rushmore cut off a face. Like you take out Abraham, actually no, not Abraham Lincoln. You can't take him out because that would be he freed the slaves. You got to take out, I don't know, take out fucking George Washington. I don't know, take out like Mount Rushmore, but with 3 faces, right? These would be the 3 faces: Manuel Neuer, Buffon, and Casillas, right? Now, for me, the order that I would have it in is Neuer 1, I would have Buffon 2, and I would have Casillas 3. Now, the gap between 1 and 2 is bigger than the gap between 2 and 3. I think Neuer is the best keeper that I've ever seen by a pretty substantial margin, but still, saying he's far clear is a little bit over the top, in my opinion, because that's disrespecting 2 guys that are some of the greatest this game has ever seen. Buffon and Casillas were amazing, and people forget how good they were for so long. Casillas was winning UCLs when he was a teenager, bro, as a starter for Real Madrid. For Real Madrid as a starter, Iker Casillas was winning UCLs. Ronaldinho Buffon was one of the best goalkeepers in the world for basically 20 years, man. For basically 20 years. This fucker played for so long. I mean, honestly, it was insane. This guy played for so long. And again, Neuer, because he revolutionized the position. Like, he was a guy who was basically playing as... You basically had a back line of 5 anytime you had Manuel Neuer as your keeper. And, you know, obviously the way that his shot stopping is, to me, the best I've ever seen. Obviously, his ability to play with his feet is better than Buffon and Casillas is to me. His awareness on the pitch. I mean, everything about Manuel Neuer, that's what makes him the greatest goalkeeper of all time. So again, for me, he's the best that I've ever seen by a pretty good margin. But by far, like I said, it's a little bit disrespectful to 2 guys that are just legends of the game. So for me, again, I agree that Neuer is the best, but saying that it's by far, no. The next take we have here is, no matter how good you think Bellingham is, he's overhated. I agree, but I would also say this is not just exclusive to Jude Bellingham. This happens to every great player who plays for a big club. Go ask people how they feel about Dani Parejo. You know what they're going to say? They're either number 1, not going to know who the fuck he is, or number 2, not going to have an opinion on him because he was just an average player playing for an average club. Jude Bellingham is a great player playing for Real Madrid. One of the most hated, if not the most hated club in the history of football because they've been so good. Also, Jude Bellingham, doesn't help that he's fucking rich and tall and handsome. Like, obviously, when you have the whole package, people are going to be jealous of that. So, but again, this is not just about Jude Bellingham. This happens to every great player. It's the same way that Ronaldo was hated. It's the same reason why Ronaldo was hated for so many years. Oh my God, he's arguably the best in the world and he plays for Real Madrid and he's kind of cocky. I don't like Ronaldo. Same way people don't like Messi. Oh, Messi's really, really fucking good and he plays for a team that I don't like. I don't like Messi. People hate on Pedri. People hate on Yamal Musiala. Now, Bellingham, the reason why people hate on him a little bit more, in my opinion, is because he is kind of... Like, people don't really put blame on Bellingham a lot of times. I mean, like, anytime Pedri has a stinker, or at least maybe this is just me as a Barca fan, but I feel like anytime Pedri has a stinker, everybody's out to get Pedri and say how shit he is. Every time Bukayo Saka has a stinker, everybody's out to call him overrated. But Bellingham can have stinker after stinker, and people are still talking about how, you know, the aura and the celebration, and it's kind of goofy sometimes. Like, that, just to me at least. And again, I think Bellingham is a great player, and I overhated on Bellingham. I said before he came to Madrid from Dortmund, he was going to be a flop, and that the English tax was real with him. And I got to live with that for the rest of my life because I was stupid in saying that. he was actually, like, he wasn't a flop. He was actually far from it. You could argue he was the best. He had the greatest first season at a club in the history of football. I would say maybe Holland, but Bellingham is definitely in that conversation. Won the UCL and is going to finish top 3 in Ballon d'Or voting. But again, hating on someone, like hating on a player like Bellingham, it's not just because, it's not just exclusive to him. Again, do I think Bellingham gets a lot of hate? Yes, but that just happens to every player. It happens to every single great player in the history of football. And obviously in this age of social media where everything's so scrutinized, it's going to be even more, like, you're going to be even more in the spotlight, obviously, and it happens in every sport, in the NBA, in the NFL. Anytime a guy has a bad game and people are like over, and also I think it's the fact that people sometimes overly glaze Jude Bellingham, and that makes people go the other way. Because Real Madrid fans will go out of their way to fucking glaze this guy when he does anything. The same way that we do as Barca fans, by the way. We're no better. We Barca fans are no better, and no fan of any team is any better. Anytime fucking, I don't know, Declan Rice plays a nice long ball, Arsenal fans are creaming their pants. Anytime Pedri plays a nice side pass, we Barca fans, or Lamine Yamal, we're creaming our pants. But again, the Real Madrid support is so out there on social media. There's so many Madrid fans on Twitter and on TikTok and on Instagram that obviously they're so vocal about how good he is that it makes people kind of go the other way. But again, I think Jude Bellingham does get a lot of hate, but I don't think it's just exclusive to him. I think it happens to every single young, great player. The next take we have here is Barca are going trophyless for the next 3 seasons. And then you woke up, right, buddy? What the fuck are you talking about? Absolutely not. Barcelona are not going to go trophyless for the next 3 years. If Barca go trophyless for the next 3 years, actually pin this. Someone clip this shit and remind me of 3 years. Hopefully, I'm not going to say hopefully. I know I'll still be doing YouTube at that time. Hopefully, I'll be a bigger channel by then. If Barca go the next 3 years and don't win a single trophy, I don't know what I'll do. I'll chop off my dick and I'll sell it on eBay. How about that? I will chop off my cock and I will sell it on eBay. For free. Actually, I won't even sell it. I'll give it away for free. Whoever comes first, like first come, first serve. I promise you, bro. That is not going to happen. And again, clip that because I will do it. I promise you I will do it. I'll try and have kids before then. If I see that Barca, like if we're 2 years in and Barca are looking kind of shaky and Hansi Flick gets fired and Lamine Yamal, God forbid, gets like an injury or something, and I see that Barca are not gonna win a trophy, I'll start having kids and maybe then I won't need it anymore. But then, like, for me, bro, like in all seriousness, I don't think this is going to happen, bro. I think Barca have a good enough structure with good enough young players, obviously, that are just growing and growing. And in 3 years, bro, how good is Lamine Yamal going to be? If he's this good already, starting for Spain at the Euros and putting people on skates, how good is Lamine Yamal going to be in 3 years? How good is Pedri going to be in 3 years if he hopefully stays healthy? How good is Gavi going to be? How good is Fermin Lopez going to be in 3 years? How good is hopefully Vitor Roque going to be in 3 years if he gets any fucking playing time? How good are all these guys going to be? If we get Nico Williams, if we get all these guys, I think Barca, again, trophyless, you're saying that we're not going to win even a Copa del Rey. Barca, I mean, no matter how, like, Barca are the kings of the Copa del Rey. That's our competition, and I think Barca can definitely win, and will definitely win a trophy in the next 3 years. And again, if it doesn't happen, you got one of you guys is gonna have my penis. The next take we have here is Neymar is not better than Dino. He isn't better at anything Dino was in his prime. How could you be more? You cannot be more wrong than this. You cannot be more wrong than this take right here. This is not a good take at all, my friend. I'm sorry. This is just not a good take. Neymar is literally better at everything than Dino. Literally everything. Pick something in the game. Dribbling, Neymar's a better dribbler. I know Dino has a flashiness and he did the bicycle at the Bernabeu, and I love Dino. Okay, I'm not trying to mock him, but still, a lot of Dino's thing is just lore, man. It's just people that go back in time and watch the highlights and watch, you know, the nice Barca kids with the red shorts, and they see Dino and he's sticking out his tongue and he has the little headband, and look at him dribbling and they say, oh my God, this guy's so good, and he was good, bro. There's a reason why Dino won a Ballon d'Or. There's a reason why he's highly regarded as one of the best talents that football's ever seen. But take an objective view of things, and if you actually look at Neymar and you look at his career and you look at his skill set, he is a better player than Ronaldinho. He's a better dribbler, like I said. He's a much better playmaker. It's not even close. He's much better with both of his feet. He's a better shooter, in my opinion. Neymar has a great shot on him. Neymar's better at everything. Neymar's better. He's better at reading the game. He can play multiple positions. Obviously, Neymar can play centrally if you wanted to, and he can be elite centrally. He can play out wide like Dino could. Neymar's just a better player, man. You guys have to get rid of this nostalgia that you have for Ronaldinho. Again, I love Dino. He's one of my favorite players of all time. He's one of the reasons why I became a Barca fan. A lot of people became Barca fans because of Messi. I actually would say I became a Barca fan because of Ronaldinho. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm disrespecting him. And both of these guys are Brazilian icons, two of the greatest Brazilians the game has ever seen. Okay? But when it comes to a football player, again, Neymar doesn't have a Ballon d'Or. Okay, who gives a fuck, dude? It doesn't matter. Nedved has a Ballon d'Or. Does that mean he's better than, I don't know, Luis Suarez or than I don't know, pick your player? No. Or then, like, you know what? So for me, again, I think Neymar, when you're looking at his skill set, especially in his prime, Neymar's prime, I mean, he's gonna be a better player. Again, both of these guys are very similar because their primes are so short. I think Neymar's was obviously longer than Dino because I think Neymar was elite for at least maybe 7-8 years. I mean, elite, I'm talking about like top 3 in the world elite. Dino was never that. Dino had a really, really high peak, but then after that, he kind of fell off. And even before that, when he was at PSG, he wasn't really the Dino that we saw at Barca. Again, so they're similar in that way, but when it comes to a skill set as a footballer, Neymar is fucking clear, man. I'm sorry, bro. I'm just sorry. There's nothing else I can say. The next take we have here is Maradona is an 86 World Cup merchant. What? Where are these takes coming from? An 86 World Cup merchant. You're saying that Maradona, the only reason people rate him so highly is because he won the 1986 World Cup. No. Maradona was great in the 82 World Cup. Maradona made another final in the 1990 World Cup. That's just for country, by the way. That's just country. Obviously, won in 86, like you mentioned, and had arguably the greatest World Cup campaign of all time, being just thoroughly dominant in every single game and every single round. He was fucking amazing. But Maradona is, dude, he brought Napoli to relevancy. He brought them back from like Serie B, and he brought them to Serie A, and they won the fucking Serie A. Napoli in the 80s, bro. You know what Italian football was in the 80s with those AC Milan teams that won UCLs and those Juventus teams that had Michel Platini? Like, you know what Serie A was in the 80s? Maradona with Napoli won a Serie A with them. They have the stadium is named after him, bro, for a reason. This guy was he's one of like he's amazing, dude. He won the equivalent of the Europa League with Napoli too. He won him a European trophy. He won Napoli a European trophy. And again, Napoli now is looked at as this great, like as this really like storied Italian team but that's because of Maradona. Nobody else. Napoli didn't have a history before Maradona. Even at Barca, he was good. If you go back and look at him at Boca Juniors before he ever made it to Europe. Bro, you're tripping. You're tripping. I don't understand where you got this from. This is why, I mean, I'm guessing I'm not trying to be mean here, by the way. I'm actually saying this, and you can let me know if I'm wrong, Denver Fan 420. Great username, by the way. I'm guessing you're younger, but because there's no way that if you're over the age of like 20 or 18, there's no way you have this opinion. I think there's a lot of like younger football fans that want to just discredit everything from the past. And again, I'm not some guy. If you guys watch my videos, I don't sit here and glaze the old players. Because honestly, I think, again, they're a little bit overrated at times because of their clips. And someone actually put that hot take. I don't know if it made the video, but someone put that hot take in here. But saying that Maradona is an 86 World Cup merchant is crazy because that's completely discrediting what he did at the club level, which arguably to me is more impressive than what he did at the international level. So for me, I'm 100% going to have to disagree with this take. The next take we have here is even in a world with Vini and Mbappe, Lamine Yamal will win at least 3 Ballon d'Or. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. 100%. 100 times yes. Lamine Yamal is going to be a multiple-time Ballon d'Or winner. I'm not talking about 1 or 2. I'm talking about 4 or 5. I believe that, man. Again, I could be putting myself out there too much, but I believe that. And look, Lamine Yamal is not going to win a Ballon d'Or anytime soon. I don't believe Lamine Yamal will win a Ballon d'Or in the next 4 years. Because obviously when you have the likes of Vini and Mbappe playing on the same team, basically assembling the fucking Avengers over there, and they're going to win basically every trophy, it's going to be hard for Lamine Yamal to kind of keep up with that. But once these guys kind of start to phase out, Lamine Yamal is just basically entering his prime. Keep in mind, guys, Lamine Yamal at the 2030 World Cup, he'll be, what is it now? It will be in 6 years. He'll be 22, bro. He'll be my age in 6 years. He'll still be, maybe not even in his prime yet. He'll still be kind of entering his prime. And guys like Vini and Mbappe, you know, they'll still be young, obviously. They'll be like 29, 30, but they'll obviously be a little bit older than Lamine. I think Lamine, at that time, is when it's going to start winning a lot of them. But I believe that Lamine Yamal is going to be the face of this new generation of football. This new generation of football, he's going to be the face of it, and he's showing it already. I mean, this kid is insane. And I believe that Lamine Yamal, again, even in a world with guys like, not just Vini and Mbappe, but with Florian Wirtz and Juan Musiala, and all these guys were so immensely talented. I think Lamine Yamal is a cut above, and I do think that he'll be a 4 or 5-time Ballon d'Or winner in his career. Again, I could be putting myself out there a little bit too much, but I truly believe that to my core. I promise you I do. A couple more here before we finish off the video. Serie A is the most competitive and hardest league there is. Are you talking about historically or recently? Because maybe historically I would agree with you, but recently, absolutely not. It's the Prem, bro. It is the Prem. The Prem is the hardest and the best league in the world, in my opinion, especially over the last couple of years. I think La Liga is close, but it's the Prem. The Serie A, 3 out of the last 4 champions have won the league by over double digits. Napoli cruised to the league title last year. Inter cruised through the league to the league title this year. And 3 years back when Inter won it, obviously that team with Lukaku, they cruised to that league title. The Serie A is a good league. Obviously, the bottom half is usually competitive. The mid-table teams are usually competitive. But when it comes to like parity, like people know who's going to win the Serie A by mid-March. That's not a competitive league. That doesn't really happen in the Prem. You can say what you want about Man City, like the last few years, and even like back in the day, a few years back with Jurgen Klopp, when Liverpool were still like contending for league titles, those leagues were tight up until like basically match week 35 or 36. You don't get that in the Serie A recently, at least. The last good Serie A title race, the Serie A had was that year where Milan won it, where Inter finished close. But to me, again, historically, I would agree with you, but recently, absolutely the fuck not. It's the Prem, and then after that, it's La Liga. And then after that, I would maybe say it's a Serie A. And the last take we have here is Carlo Ancelotti is better than Pep Guardiola as a manager. Man, I'm very much in the Pep camp. I think Pep is the best manager of all time, and I believe that obviously. I think he'll go down as the greatest manager that football's ever seen, and I obviously believe that he's the best right now. But I would be kidding myself if I didn't think Ancelotti was at least in the conversation with Pep. I think they're obviously you have to put him in the same combo. Now. You have to give Ancelotti his respect. I mean, this man has won 5 UCLs. Generation after generation, he continues to dominate. He's won every single top 5 league. Now, obviously, Pep to me, what takes Pep ahead is the way that he revolutionized football. And Pep is the greatest league manager the game has ever seen. It's really not even fucking close, by the way. He's the greatest league manager of all time. What he did with Barca, I mean, basically assembled the greatest team of all time, had the most dominant 4-year run in the history of football, in my opinion. Bayern Munich didn't win the UCL, but still, that team, I don't really count Bayern Munich that much because they were going to win either way with or without Pep, but that team played some beautiful football. And now we look at Man City, he goes to the hardest league in the world and completely takes it over. Now, again, Pep's budget and the money that he spends on players is there. We get that. This guy goes out and buys the best players in the world. He can get anybody who he wants. And that obviously helps him in being so good. But still, bro, the dominance, the consistency that he has showed throughout the years, and again, like I said, the way that he revolutionized football, tiki-taka, all this stuff. I mean, people are calling for Pep Guardiola to quit football because the Euros are so fun. They're saying, Pep Guardiola, you made football boring because you're so good. You're so tactically sharp that you made football just be like this robotic game. That's how good Pep Guardiola is. Now again, Ancelotti, he's more of... Pep is a lot more like, obviously I don't have to... This is pretty much obvious, but Pep is a lot more of a tactical, you know, he's like a micromanager. Ancelotti is a lot more free-flowing, more of a player's manager in my opinion, even though I do think players love Pep. But Ancelotti, we saw this shit with Real Madrid. It's basically just, I mean, obviously he has tactics. You don't become as good a manager as Ancelotti without tactics. But it's a lot of just like, you know, I have my players, I trust them, I give them instructions, but I let them do whatever they want. Pep is not like that at all. And I think that also is what helps Ancelotti a lot. And I think what he's done with Real Madrid, I mean, you could argue, and not even argue anymore. It's fact. It's a fact. It is a fact. Carlo Ancelotti is the greatest manager in the history of Real Madrid. You're the greatest manager in the history of arguably the greatest club of all time and a team that's won 15 UCLs. One in La Decima, one in the one in Paris, and one in this one, and obviously in Wembley. And obviously that's amazing what he did with obviously AC Milan and those teams. Again, those teams are stacked, but still Ancelotti was a big part of that. I think, again, like I said, I think Pep is the best. But to say that Ancelotti's not close to him or that you can't even have the conversation, to me, we would be kidding ourselves because Carlo Ancelotti deserves his respect. I mean, the guy is a phenom. And that, guys, is the end of the video. I gotta go watch France versus Netherlands now, so I gotta stop this video right now. But I appreciate you guys for watching, man. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I love every single one of you, man. Thank you so much for submitting your hot takes. And if yours was not featured in today's video, do not be sad. I promise you'll be featured at some point. But yeah, man, I love every single one of you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.